Here's your wrestling news for November 8th, 2020. And your headlines for today include: all of WWE's employees declined WWE's work-from-home offer so far. CM Punk takes major dig at Linda McMahon. Why wrestling fans trolled Chris Jericho yet again. Former WWE wrestlers Gangrel and Hurricane Helms appear during AEW Full Gear Elite Deletion match. Current WWE superstar spotted backstage at AEW Full Gear. Possible spoiler for WWE Survivor Series edition. Why was Vince McMahon absent from WWE SmackDown this week? Major update on Chelsea Green after absence from WWE TV. WWE and AEW are more than interested in second-generation superstar. Miro reveals name he almost used in AEW after WWE release, and more. We are starting today with WWE, as the company hosted a town hall meeting where they said any staff who wants to work from home can, but not everyone is taking the company's offer. It's being reported that not a single writer has accepted this offer, as they're all choosing to make their way to the offices in Stamford, though Edge and Daniel Bryan are continuing to work from home, as they were never obligated to be at the offices, and they've been attending meetings virtually since joining Creative. Given the ongoing global situation, it makes sense that WWE would offer a work-from-home solution, but for now, the writing team isn't changing their schedule. Political news now, as the US election results are in, and we doubt Chris Jericho is happy. Going off the Associated Press's figures, Joe Biden has won, reaching 290 electoral votes out of the required 270, though Donald Trump has claimed the election was rigged and he won. On election night, Jericho was ridiculed for saying he's not a political person, despite donating thousands to Trump and having Donald Trump Jr. on his show, and it sounds like that line is going to stick. When Jericho took to Instagram and Twitter to share a video of his old high school band, tons of fans replied with the result of the election and mocked Jericho's claims of not being political. Throughout his career, Jericho has made countless nicknames, from Y2J to the Demo God, but it looks like he's getting a new moniker that he doesn't really want. Speaking of the election, CM Punk has gotten in on the action by taking a shot at Linda McMahon. When Linda, who has worked in the Trump administration, said she stood with the president and his alleged claims of electoral fraud and that he's actually won, Punk responded with a familiar image to wrestling fans, showing the night he left with the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank 2011. The only difference is that he plastered Joe Biden's face over his own, and at this time, Linda McMahon hasn't responded to this tweet. There were plenty of WWE superstars, past and present, who also shared their reactions to the election results, and though we can't showcase their responses, we doubt Vince McMahon will be too pleased by what they've said, especially given his friendship to President Trump. AEW news next, as Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara had quite the encounter in their Elite Deletion match at Full Gear, which included some surprise appearances. During the match, Gangrel appeared with a tied-up Hurricane Helms, who was freed by Matt, and when the wrestling superhero asked what took Matt so long, he said it was long-term storytelling. Hurricane's alter ego reporter Gregory Helms showed up later on to try and interview Sammy, whilst Gangrel would also get involved in the ring with Private Party. Though these were just quick cameos, it could result in more appearances for the two down the line, and was a lot of fun for the fans watching. These weren't the only cameos for AEW, as behind the scenes, there was a big name hanging around. When Big Swole uploaded a video to her Instagram featuring Serpentico, Swole panned to show someone who was standing off camera, WWE's Cedric Alexander. The Hurt Business member married Swole in 2018, and though he may be in a rival company, Alexander is obviously welcomed backstage at AEW. This isn't the first time a WWE name has been at an AEW show, as while she was with WWE, Renee Young attended a few AEW events to watch her husband, Jon Moxley. It'll be interesting to see how WWE reacts to Alexander showing up, but given that he was never on screen during Full Gear, hopefully he'll avoid any punishments. Back to WWE, and we're looking ahead to Survivor Series next, as SmackDown's women's team comprises of Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott so far, but now we may already know the team's third member. On this week's show, Bayley failed to regain the SmackDown Women's Championship from Sasha Banks, and the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that the role model is now an obvious pick for the team. It'll be interesting to see how Bayley does if she joins the team, as she's not exactly been a team player recently, and whoever ends up filling out the 5-woman team will have to put their differences aside to defeat Team Raw. More from SmackDown next, as despite a stacked show this week, which also saw an increase in the ratings, not everyone was present behind the scenes. Ringside News is reporting that Vince McMahon was absent from SmackDown this week, and that it's unclear where he was or what he was doing. Instead, Bruce Pritchard was running things in the Thunderdome, and that Ed Koskey and Ryan Callahan led the show's creative. In McMahon's absence, Kevin Dunn ran production, and though Triple H has run SmackDown in Vince's absence before, he wasn't there either. Though Vince wasn't physically there, it was reported that everything flowed through the chairman all day via phone call, though there was clearly something big enough to keep the boss away. One person fans haven't seen in the Thunderdome is Chelsea Green, despite her so-called call-up this year. On Twitter, Green noted that she's not wrestled since May 27th, and Fightful have explained why she hasn't been around, saying, "When Paul Heyman was removed from his spot on WWE Raw, plans involving Chelsea Green were put on hold. Vanessa Bourne had also been called up earlier this year, but hasn't had any creative provided for her either. We'll have to see where Green ends up down the line, but she's not enjoying her time away from the ring." Raw news now, as tomorrow's show will feature a moment of bliss with special guest Drew McIntyre that the former women's champion is looking forward to. When McIntyre sarcastically said he's expecting this to be a normal sit-down interview with no shenanigans, Bliss said she's expecting it too, as everyone is waiting for The Fiend or Randy Orton to show up. Tomorrow's show will see Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle, and Elias face off in a second chance match, with the winner joining Raw's Men's Survivor Series team, and time will tell which superstar who lost their first qualifiers makes it to the squad. MLW news now, as Davey Boy Smith Jr. has grown as a star since his departure from WWE nearly a decade ago, and he could soon be back with the company. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, Smith's relationship with Court Bauer and MLW is fine, but with his MLW deal expiring on December 18th, there's plenty of interest in him from other companies. They wrote, "He was at Chris Jericho's Halloween party this past week and spoke to Tony Khan, but they aren't talking any business until after his MLW deal is up. He's had interest from WWE, Khan expressed interest, and there's interest from All Japan, Impact, and MLW, and has no favorite or leaning past saying this decision will be made based on an offer and whatever makes the most sense business-wise." Before the ongoing situation canceled plans, Smith was set to start with All Japan, and it looks like one promotion will be getting a very special Christmas present when his MLW deal expires on December 18th. Back to AEW, as Miro made himself known in the company, but nearly went by a different name. While speaking to Inside the Ropes, Miro said that he joked in WWE about leaving and working under the name Rusev, spelled with 2 F's instead of a V. Obviously, Miro didn't go that route when the time came, as he said it'd be petty of him, and we doubt WWE would have even allowed him to use a name so close to the one they still have trademarked. More from Full Gear, as the pay-per-view was a night FTR will want to forget, but at least they looked good for the show. Before Full Gear went live, Cash Wheeler shared an image on Twitter of the back of their jackets, which cites them as Grand Slam champions with 4 stars underneath, 1 yellow, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 gold. It didn't take long for fans to figure out that this was referencing their various tag team title wins in WWE and AEW, as they also included the dates those titles were won. This history wasn't enough for FTR, as they lost the AEW tag titles to the Young Bucks, and we'll have to see how the Jackson brothers do now that they're the top team in AEW. Now, Bayley's reign as SmackDown Women's Champion is over, but the merchandise about her historic run has only just started. On WWE Shop, fans can now order a plaque celebrating the record-breaking 379-day reign, featuring images of Bayley as well as a piece of the ring from Clash of Champions 2019. Not only that, but this plaque also contains an authentic piece of a dearly missed Bayley buddy, and at $129.99, this is a perfect, albeit pricey gift for any Bayley fan. Back to AEW, and Full Gear is over, but the company's next pay-per-view has been announced. During the show, the company confirmed AEW Revolution for February 27, 2021, though no location was revealed, and with months until the show, AEW will have plenty of time to build storylines. More AEW now, as after speculation over where she'll go next, Thunder Rosa made her intentions clear at Full Gear. After AEW, Serena Deeb defended the NWA Women's title against Allison Kay, who recently left the NWA. Serena was confronted by Rosa, who's still under an NWA contract. Getting a nice pop from the crowd, Rosa walked up to Deeb and pointed at the title she once had before leaving. It's clear that Rosa wants to get the title back that Deeb beat her for, at least while she's under an NWA contract, and we'll have to see what else she does down the line. We've got the Full Gear results next, as the buy-in show saw Serena Deeb retain her title against Allison Kay, whilst the pay-per-view's opener saw Kenny Omega defeat Hangman Page in the Eliminator Tournament final to earn a shot at the AEW World title. Orange Cassidy defeated John Silver, whilst Darby Allin captured the TNT title from Cody Rhodes. Hikaru Shida defeated Nyla Rose to retain the AEW Women's title, whilst the Young Bucks captured the tag gold from FTR in a match the Bucks had to win or face never challenging for the gold again. Matt Hardy won his Elite Deletion match against Sammy Guevara, and MJF earned a spot in the Inner Circle thanks to his win over Chris Jericho. And in the main event, Jon Moxley retained his world title by making Eddie Kingston say "I quit," proving why he's the top star in all of AEW. And we're ending with AEW, as with Full Gear over, the company is building to Dynamite. During Full Gear, Dustin Rhodes cut a furious promo on the Butcher and the Blade, which resulted in him challenging them to a bunkhouse match. And now the Natural Nightmares will face Butcher and Blade next week on Dynamite. The show will also see Phoenix vs. Penta once again, as well as Red Velvet vs. Tay Conti, so there'll be plenty to see for fans on the post-Full Gear edition of AEW Dynamite.